everybody, welcome to Simple Hobby Homesteading. I am Jenna, and if you hear pitter patter or see noses, there are dogs in here, and I have salmon, and so they are going to be totally all up in my business this entire time because they love salmon and they absolutely love food and they've got good noses. But we are making some salmon tonight for dinner, and the recipe we're using is a blackened salmon recipe. We're going to have this with salad and some wild rice. And if you look at the day 4 of the challenge, you'll see that the lettuce was picked up at the, I'm sorry, I just saw something in the lettuce bowl. The lettuce was picked up in the garden with the snow peas and other things like that. And let's see, so yes, there's that. And so I'm going to have the camera come closer while I'm doing some of the things here. But just for the intro of the video, we'll do this where I'm this far away. Hello. But the seasoning that we're going to be putting on this salmon is a seasoning of 2 tablespoons of ground paprika, 1 tablespoon of ground cayenne pepper, 1 tablespoon of onion powder, 2 teaspoons of salt, and I use sea salt, 1/2 teaspoon of white pepper, and 1/2 teaspoon of black pepper, a 1/4 teaspoon of dried thyme, a 1/4 teaspoon of dried oregano, and a 1/4 teaspoon of dried basil. And I think that's it. Yes, and the recipe calls for 4 salmon fillets. We're going to try to stretch that out to, I don't know how many this would be. This is probably more like 5 salmon fillets. So we're going to see if we can stretch the seasoning out to do 5 salmon fillets. And a 1/2 cup of butter, and it's going to be brushed all over the salmon. And we'll throw some butter in the skillet as well to cook with. So what we're looking at, I'm going to mix up the seasonings that I have here so we don't have just a ton of just one seasoning. We don't have like an onion fillet and a paprika fillet. We're mixing up the seasonings. And then I'm going to show you how to take the skin off. You want the fillets, the salmon fillets, to have no skin and no bones. So the one that I have, the one that's on hand, has the skin on it. So I'm going to show you how to take that skin off. So I'm going to get the camera closer for that. And I also got some radishes up in the garden, so we're going to cut those up and just see how they taste to see if we want to add them to the salad. Okay, so as you can see, this salmon fillet it's got the bones out, but it does have the skin on. So we are just going to take this skin off, and the wild rice is done. I'm going to take that off the stove real quick. That needs to sit for 10 minutes. But you can grill or you can cook the salmon with the skin on if you want. But for this recipe, because we're putting the seasoning on both sides of the salmon and we are blackening that salmon, we do want to take the skin off. So what you do is you insert your knife just under the skin at one end, and you can usually tell what end is going to be a little bit easier. And you want to try to get it as close to the meat of the fish as you can, to the actual fillet. A nice long knife works well. If you're a fisherman, my goodness, grab your fillet knife and just watch your fingers. And we're just going to get this skin off. And salmon skin actually comes off quite easily, so it's quite nice. And the sharper the knife you have, the better. This one's long, but it's kind of dull. Usually my other knives, my chef's knives that I use a lot more often, are much, much more sharp. In fact, I might try to get my... Yep, I'm switching knives. Oh yeah, much better. And as you can see, the skin just peels right back. Okay, so actually, if I hold it and pull, it's working a lot better. And these little pieces here, I will end up giving these to the dogs, these little itty bitty pieces, with their dinner tonight. And we'll cut up the skin as well and give it in small portions to the dogs. A lot of great omega-3s in that. Yeah, if you can find if you can get the one that already has the skin off, I highly recommend that. Although with the skin on, sometimes it's a little cheaper. So now we're going to cut our salmon into fillets and then brush it with butter. Or brush them with butter. I have a 1/2 cup of melted butter here and a breathing dog right below me. And we're just going to do it right on top of these other ones so that the butter melts into that too. And if you don't have a brush, you could just dredge them in butter too. Don't have to be super picky about that. And then we put our seasoning in just a little rectangle bowl here, a rectangle container. And after we get that butter on, we're going to put the seasoning on the one side. And then we're going to put the seasoning on the other side. And then right before we put these in the skillet, we're going to sprinkle them with a little bit more butter. I used to not like salmon. I think I just never had a good piece of salmon, you know, with good seasoning and well cooked. Because you don't want to cook salmon too long. That's the number one thing that people do is they cook it too long. You don't want to do that. That butter is starting to congeal on there because it's getting cool. Alrighty, so now with our salad, we need some veggies. We're going to try these radishes here in a second that we got out of the garden. And of course, cucumbers. Everybody's getting cucumbers out of the garden. So what I like to do is I like to just, I don't know why I do this. I've always done it. I think it's from when I worked for the General as his chef, make the cucumbers pretty. So I just do a little slice with the vegetable peeler to make them pretty. I don't know why. I've always done it though. And it makes it easier to cut too because it's got a little bit of a solid place for that cucumber to rest when you chop it. Oop. Let's see if the dogs like cucumbers. Alrighty, let's try one of these radishes. Let's see if these are going to be good enough to put in the salad. Ready? Ooh! Ooh, spicy! Yeah, I think those are salad worthy. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, let's get this salmon cooking. So we're going to put this on a medium to high heat. Probably on a medium, more on like a 7 or a 6. We're going to get some butter in here. We have our leftover butter here that we're going to drizzle over that salmon when we put it in. If you've seen the pictures of my French toast, this is the pan I make it in. That's why it's got kind of those grill marks on it. It's like the best ever French toast maker. Alright, so once that pan's heated up, we're going to put our salmon in. And we turned up the heat just a little bit. It's at like a 9. Alright, and we're going to cook this salmon about 5 minutes on each side. And we're going to drizzle some of this butter over the top. Alrighty, it's been about 5 minutes, so let's go ahead and flip these. They're looking great. They could even be a little bit more blackened. I'd say start with that heat up nice and high. Oops. Higher than I had it started out. So started out at like the 9. Those are looking great. Perfect. Oops. Oh, that one looks outstanding. You want it blackened. And you'll know it's done when it starts flaking apart. That piece is close to being done. Not quite, but close. Alright, if you find like this one could use a little bit more time, it's a nice thick fillet, and it could use a little bit more time in the middle, you can always flip like that. You get that in the middle. This one's probably done. Oh yeah. Let me get that one out. Alright, let me get that one out. Check this one. That one's looking great. This little piece is probably done. Just moving them around a little bit. These thicker fillets need just a little bit more time, and we're going to put them right over the eye. Even though this burner heats, or this pan heats beautifully evenly. Oh, look at that. That crust is what we want. Alrighty folks, we are done. And Kevin's is getting his too. We've got some wild rice, we've got our blackened salmon, and we've got our salad. So yummy, I'm loving it. I took a bite of it a second ago. I'll take another bite. And it's super good, but super spicy. I'd say if you want to cut back on the cayenne a little bit, you can. But it's super good. But whoa, that's spicy. All right, Kevin's going in for a huge piece. That's awesome. I love it. We got a lot, so that's good. You guys have a great night, and we'll see you later. Bye-bye.